So stay with me for this first part before we get into the game itself, as it will make more sense as it goes on. Oh, yay! It's that official version of AM2R that Nintendo rushed out to make themselves not look like evil assholes for cease and desisting AM2R with their... Oh, we only did it because we were making our own version. Fuck off with that shit, Nintendo. You were not making your own version. You only started after everyone was pissed off at you and ready to riot. I mean, the riot was short-lived, as, oh look, I've got the file, Midnight's got the file, Alex has got the file, Moon Knight's got the file, we've all got the file. And as such, that shit has been traded all over my public Discord and everybody else's Discord. And if we go to Google, oh look, there's a fuck ton of links to download it. So, round of applause. Good job there, Nintendo. Your attempt to remove something from the internet failed miserably. Because, guess what? Say it with me. Trying to remove a thing, especially a thing that's really good that everybody likes from the internet, doesn't fucking work. How many times do I have to tell you AAA companies, especially you Nintendo, the internet and the things on it are like a hydra? Hey look, good job, you cut off the main AM to our head, but oh, 3 more, Cool ROMs, GBA Temp, 4chan, they've already re-uploaded it. You cut them off? Well, you tried, but oh dear. Discord, Reddit, Mega Upload, AdFly, Tumblr, LimeWire. You killed the main one, 3 more appeared. You stopped them, 6 show up in their place. I'm just saying, as the Mario 64 multiplayer thing is looking good and a lot of people are really interested in it and thinking of playing it, and it will really help promote Mario Odyssey. You know, just think about your actions before you do them and not be stupid for once. And now here's why that part is included, and the part you've been waiting for to know why I'm talking about this. And it's because of the message that Nintendo has sent recently, especially with this game in particular. What does that mean? Well, let's take a look, as recently Nintendo has been manufacturing scarcity with its products, resulting in a lot of people getting very angry and a whole lot of a shitstorm brewing when some read the message, and with Samus Returns this message is never stronger, with something that they have done within the game, and it has to be talked about before the game itself to give you the reasoning behind my decisions and the final verdict next episode. But first, let's glance over at the SNES Mini. Released in an extremely limited quantity for no reason at this point, the limited quantity of the SNES Mini went up for pre-orders at 3 AM in the morning when no reasonable consumer would be awake. But of course, scalpers would be. Resulting in, as you might have guessed, scalpers that were refreshing to the very second, getting a ton of them, and everyone else saying that Nintendo was selling unicorns at 3 AM, as they are just as rare as a unicorn, and you're never going to get one. And no, I'm sorry if you're a kid watching this and the mean dragon just broke your heart, but you will never, ever get an SNES Mini, and you're going to have to come to terms with that, as Nintendo hates you and would rather give someone in Japan 10 of the things that doesn't actually care about them at 3 o'clock in the morning to try and shake $250 out of you, rather than somebody that actually wants one and will take care of the thing at a reasonable price and a reasonable time. This caused many journalists like Jim Sterling of the Jimquisition to create videos like this.
Nintendo announced a while back the SNES Classic, we all know about that, and we all know it's hardly surprising that the thing is really difficult to fucking get. If anything though, the whole SNES and NES Classic stuff, basically anything Nintendo does that's limited, pretty much demonstrates and showcases how much bollocks it is when companies keep trying to get you to pre-order things, because they keep giving you all these bonuses, all these incentives, they keep desperately begging you to pre-order things that don't fucking need pre-orders. You can get Shadow of War on launch day, no fucking problem, and along comes something that you actually do need to pre-order and no one can fucking pre-order it. Those times when the game industry needs to make pre-orders work, they're a huge colossal fuck up, and people end up disappointed and get their orders cancelled. That's been happening, as usual. Amazon cancelling people's pre-orders for the SNES Classic. But not mad, because I made my peace. Basically, when it was announced, I made my peace with the fact I will never see an SNES Classic in real life. Not an official one, anyway. Nonetheless, the fact that pre-orders for the SNES Classic went live in the middle of the night when everyone was fucking asleep cannot go without comment. I've already covered Nintendo's shitty manufactured scarcity before in a Jimquisition, although some people have called that a conspiracy theory. I've been painted as some wild conspiracy theorist for pointing out that Nintendo is not sending enough stock to stores and has to be doing it on purpose, because why else would they do it? The only other answer is incompetence. It's one or the other, and Nintendo's history is such that it loves making things limited. I mean, they even said after the fact that the NES Classic was always supposed to be limited. And this is that thing they do, where they fucking make things in limited quantities to deliberately plan for the fact that they will become collectible. And that rarely works, because the most collectible thing, but if you're buying an SNES Classic hoping it'll appreciate in value, I sure as shit can't recommend buying them from the scalpers on eBay, because with the jacked up prices they're running, you're gonna be lucky to break even in about 10-20 years. Which of course brings us to the most ever-present, ever-salient point in this whole debate over Nintendo and its shitty ability to supply things. Scalpers are the only ones truly 100% benefiting from all this. They're the ones making bank, making money for fucking nothing. The fucking machine isn't even out yet, but you can quote-unquote pre-order it from eBay sellers for anywhere between $200 and $500 fucking dollars. Nintendo at this point becomes a middleman, supplying eBay sellers with consoles that they sell at a profit. It's like how retail distribution works, except it's a company and just some fucking scalping assholes. And at this point, you can't tell me they're not doing it on purpose, that they're not playing into it. Why else would you set pre-orders live at such a ludicrous time? Why are American sellers putting this shit up at 2 in the fucking morning? Like, I'm not cut up about not having an SNES Classic for myself. This ain't sour grapes like you're thinking, and I know some of you are thinking it, some of you already, probably the moment you saw the video title, already wrote a comment saying that it's sour grapes, but here's the thing. When I said I made my peace with the fact I'll never see an SNES Classic, I wasn't fucking around. I made my peace, and therefore resolved to supply myself with an SNES Classic. It might not have that unreleased Star Fox game on it, but I'm not too worried about that because it does have a ton of other games on it. A fuckload more than the official SNES Classic does. Because when I receive the message loud and clear that Nintendo does not want my money, I will shrug and say, okay, fair enough. Fair deal. You don't want my money. I'll spend it elsewhere. And I won't feel a shred of guilt for what I'm doing. Not that I'm saying I'm doing anything to feel guilty for, but I won't feel bad about it. I won't feel bad about acquiring the otherwise unacquirable. But again, I just don't know how you can argue that Nintendo doesn't know what it's doing by now. Scalpers were even able to make money off the Nintendo Switch Pro controller for a little bit. A fucking controller. And you can see the benefits. I'm demonstrating the benefit right now. I'm talking about the SNES Classic. I'm talking about Nintendo. I've mentioned...
And others like myself are in the same boat. Nintendo has made it clear that they do not want my money, and like many others, I will not be paying scalpers for it. So, we will acquire the same thing via means other than Nintendo, be it via an emulator or a bootleg. And this is where Samus Returns comes into the mix, as like with the SNES Mini, Nintendo made its point to create a manufactured scarcity on several things with this game, one of which is crucial to the game and the enjoyment of it. So let's start with that one, which is the Metroid Amiibo and Fusion Mode. Now, this particular mode cannot at all be obtained in the game at all. Like the scummy business practice of Skylanders and LEGO Dimensions, this content is on the cartridge, yes, but it is locked behind a $20 Metroid Amiibo that basically just serves as an activation key. And if you don't have this Amiibo, you're not playing Fusion Mode at all, with the creator making one of the most insulting and pathetic statements I've ever read.
So, for our fans who purchased the respective figurines, fans in quotation marks, will get a harder challenge. I think we have a lot of fans, you fucking won't after this. And for the fans who purchase our Amiibos out of love for the series, in addition to having a beautiful figurine, we want to give them something in exchange, namely to be able to unlock Fusion Mode, which is even harder than Hard Mode. Which brings us to our next question of how difficult is Hard Mode compared to Fusion Mode. I can't really get into detail, but I can say Fusion is more significantly more difficult than Hard Mode. Sorry, I can't go into details, but I want the fans to experience it for themselves. Well, guess what? You stupid Japanese bastard! They can't experience it for themselves because the two Amiibo you need, i.e. the fucking new ones, currently unavailable, and it will never be back in stock because, like all of the fucking Amiibo crisis that happened with Smash Brothers, it's a limited edition rare piece of shit that you're never gonna find. The other Samus one, currently unavailable. So guess what, stupid idiot? These fans that you keep praising, these absolutely amazing fans that you keep saying are the best things ever, they'll never be able to experience Hard Mode or Fusion Mode because they'll never be able to find the fucking Amiibo because you made them ridiculously rare, like you always do. Saying only true fans will get this Amiibo, as only true fans will want this mode, and if you don't, then you're not a true fan. Basically saying, if you don't go and get it off a scalper to enjoy an entire mode of the game that is locked off in a full price game that should be there without this fucking day one DLC activation Amiibo bollocks, then you're not a true fan. It's fucking insulting, and if that's how you think, then get the fuck out of this industry. You don't belong here. As I could argue, I'm one of the biggest Metroid fans around, being that it is one of my favourite franchises, as it is inspired by my favourite franchise of the Alien films. And like the Xenomorphs, of which you can see I have a lot of stuff, some expensive like this head, I have a lot of Metroid stuff, like, I don't know, this $300 Metroid Prime statue because it's a series that's very dear to me. So when you say I'm not a true fan because you made an entire portion of the game for fans literally impossible to access because the key is literally impossible to get at a reasonable price, and you're not a true fan unless you go buy the key for 3 times the price, then you and me are gonna have issues, pal. And yes, the Metroid and Samus Returns amiibos are completely unavailable on Amazon and everywhere else because, like the SNES Mini, the pre-orders went up at 2 AM for scalpers to take their fill, not only rendering them impossible to find or to get at a reasonable price, but also, because they are now impossible to get, completely locking off an entire mode crucial to the legacy of the game and the fans that wanted to see it. So, as with the NES Mini and now the SNES Mini, Nintendo has made their message clear. They clearly don't want my money, and according to this twat, I'm clearly not a true fan, as I won't buy the Metroid amiibo off a scalper. So,
if someone just so happens to upload the CIA file, and this file also just so happens to contain the Amiibo activation key, as the content is on the game, on the cartridge, you just need the Metroid to activate it, so it's basically on disc day 1 DLC. If someone would just so happen to upload both of those, well, you can't blame me for getting it this way, as I want to play Fusion Mode, I want to buy the Metroid Amiibo, I want to give Nintendo money, but it does not want my money, as it's too busy spinning manufactured scarcity bollocks and helping scalpers by putting the pre-orders up at 2 o'clock in the morning when no reasonable person is awake. And I'm not saying I downloaded the file and recorded this footage from a pirated copy. I'm just saying that if that were the case, I can't really be blamed. And of course, I'm also under no embargo contract. So, if the actual full review of the game just so happened to be uploaded a day before all of the big companies like Gaeing explain, well, it's not my fault, as Nintendo let the scalpers get the Legacy edition of the game, and they got it early and they uploaded the CIA file, and as such, now we come to the big fucking punchline. And I know you're sitting there not believing me. You're thinking that this is the CIA file, that I'm pirating it, and I'm a dick. Well, remember them scalpers we were talking about? Well, they were at it again with Samus Returns. Around the world for the Amiibos, but more specifically in England, the Legacy Edition. This amazing edition comes with the soundtrack, the steel bookcase, the keychain, the code for the original GBA version of Metroid 2, the lot. But like America, the pre-orders went up at 2 AM! Of fucking course they did! So no one was awake and no one got one. And if you wanted one, then oh look, big money! Big prices! From the scalpers. And you know what I did? For the sake of this review and to show Nintendo up, I looked through all these scalpers, seeing which ones that were willing to not only negotiate on a price, but were also willing to let me use them in this video. And after a few hours, I found someone who was nice enough. And after some back and forth, as you can see here by my offer, and then here by the payment screen, we settled on the Legacy Edition plus the Amiibo for £160. That's close to $200 for y'all in the US of A. And look at this. It's a fucking pre-order, as that's what you have to do with Nintendo now. If a Nintendo, and only Nintendo, has something you want and it's of limited quantity like the SNES Mini or the Legacy collection here, you cannot no longer pre-order them, not even the physical thing. You can't even get the physical thing, you have to fucking pre-order it. However, no longer can you pre-order it through Nintendo's official store, or Amazon, or any official game store like Game or GameStop. No, you have to do this. You have to negotiate a fucking pre-order with some random scalper on eBay. Because that's what you have to do with Nintendo now. Speaking of our scalper friend, while nice enough, he did not wish to have his eBay account shown and wanted to remain anonymous. While he's being a bit of a scamming dick, I can respect his wishes and I will keep him anonymous. But during our talks, he did openly admit that he knew what he was doing and that he'd scammed many people in the past. And with this Legacy Edition, he had 3 in his possession. 3. he did say that he enjoyed the series and he was keeping one for himself, but the other two, time to charge out the ass. And when I asked him why, he gave me a dickish but honest 3-part answer. Part 1, because if not him, someone else would do it. And given his financial situation, he might as well make some extra cash to help him out. As again, if he didn't, someone else would have. Part 2, because Nintendo is not going to stop him, which just sums up this whole situation. It shows Nintendo's lackadaisy approach to their limited items, that they will put them up for pre-order at ridiculous times. They will allow people to get more than one, as our friend here had 3, and will not attempt to crack down nor counter this scamming shitstorm in any way. But most importantly, part 3, because people will pay more than reasonable price for something that they want. As if not, then why are you here, Spyro? You clearly genuinely have an interest in this thing and are clearly looking at dropping this amount of money on the thing. I mean, it holds some truth. I am a Metroid fan. I did really want this collection, and I hate that I'm paying this much, but I can consider the extra money payment for his willingness to take part in our talks and payment for his time answering the questions. And it's a payment well worth it to expose Nintendo's big scalping, scamming, putting pre-orders up at 2 fucking AM problem with the SNES Mini, the NES Mini, this fucking Legacy Collection, and all of the Amiibos during the Amiibo crisis when Smash Brothers was a thing and these were brand new out. And keep in mind, we had a bit of a bonding situation going on here with a bit of back and forth. So I got the pack plus the Metroid Amiibo for $160. Originally, he wanted $190 for just the pack alone with no Amiibo. So at least I got him down just a little bit. But now for punchline number 2. The other reason why I bought this. The real reason. As you have seen Samus Returns, and you're still thinking it's a CIA. It's not, but think about this. The CIA had to have come from somewhere. Where do you think that is? A reviewer leaking the ROM without Nintendo knowing? A mole inside of Nintendo putting the whole game up for free so people had time to get the CIA rather than putting the demo up like the whole Pokemon Sun and Moon fiasco? Nope. It's from the Legacy Edition. Why do you think the CIA file here says EU? Europe. The only continent to get the Legacy Edition. Nintendo was so busy trying to play the scalper game with their bullshit 2 AM pre-orders that copies of the Legacy Edition actually and accidentally, according to Nintendo, have been sent out early, like a whole week early, and among them was hackers who, now having the full Legacy Edition game early and the Amiibos, got the CIA file out of it. And well, the proof is in the pudding, baby. You're looking at the proof on screen. So while there is a CIA running around, and yes, this is the CIA file running on the Citra emulator to record this footage, the actual Legacy Edition cartridge, nah mate, here it is in the DS, working as intended. So, that is where we're going to end part 1, showing off how Nintendo with its silly manufacturing scarcity has led to this colossal fuck up, and their 2 AM scalper pre-orders has led to the Legacy Edition actually accidentally going out early, which has led to the leaked CIA. Now please let this serve as a lesson, Nintendo. This is directly addressing you now. Let this serve as a lesson. Selling pre-orders for unicorns at 2 AM for scalpers, making stuff impossible to get for regular customers, creates these CIA leaking, pirating situations. So please address this. And please stop. Just stop. And as for the rest of you, join me in part 2, either Wednesday or Thursday once I've played through the full game for the full review, or tonight if you follow me on Twitter or the Discord, as I will be streaming the game later on tonight. I just felt like I had to make this a part 1, as it stems to show the flaw in Nintendo's idea, but also show off the failure of these Metroid Amiibos, where there is now a whole mode, being Fusion Mode, that you will never ever unlock as it's on disc DLC, and the key is as rare as a fucking unicorn, and you're not ever going to see that key unless you pay a stupid price on eBay or get an Amiibo activation key either via this file or from Amiibo, like a Amiibo reader that basically tricks the game into thinking you have the Amiibo when you don't.